And I think there's life after delivery. Say, you believe there's life after delivery? That's so ridiculous. What are we going to do? How are we going to move around? I say, maybe we can use our feet to walk. Like, you can walk with your feet? That's ridiculous. I say, oh, or maybe we can eat with our mouths. Say, eat with your mouth. We have umbilical cord. That's what is scientifically proven to give us all the nutrition we need. What are you talking about? This is nonsense. I'm like, no, it's possible we might be able to do all these things, but maybe it's different after delivery than what we know now. And I'm like, okay, if there's life after delivery, how come nobody has come back?
Hello, welcome once again to another episode of Bible Study
in His presence.
And for those who are new to following us, my name is Ada.
And I'm Ugo.
And we'll be continuing our study of Matthew chapter 12 today. It's a really long chapter, and there's so much to learn in there.
Yeah. I think the last time this chapter 12 is a very long one. So the last time we covered the first part of Matthew 12. I think we went from verse 1 to 37. So today we're going to be looking at 38 all the way to the end. And I think there are like 3 key areas we wanted to focus our conversation today.
So from verse 38, the demand for a miracle. I'll read.
Yep.
Then some teachers of the law and some Pharisees spoke up. Teacher, they said, we want to see you perform a miracle. How evil and godless are the people of this day, Jesus exclaimed. You ask me for a miracle? No. The only miracle you will be given is the miracle of the prophet Jonah. In the same way that Jonah spent 3 days and nights in the big fish, so will the Son of Man spend 3 days and nights in the depths of the earth. On the judgment day, the people of Nineveh will stand up and accuse you, because they turned from their sins when they heard Jonah preach. And I tell you that there is something here greater than Jonah. On the judgment day, the Queen of Sheba will stand up and accuse you, because she traveled all the way from her country to listen to King Solomon's wise teaching. And I assure you that there is something here greater than Solomon.
So these Pharisees, they're asking for signs, right? And you remember the last episode, they were the ones that were castigating Jesus for healing somebody on the Sabbath, right? Which is a sign, right? The sign is all over.
Yep.
It's all around them, like. But they're asking for more signs, whereas the signs that Jesus has shown over and over again, they question it, right? So it just goes to show that like there is never enough sign.
And like you said, they had seen Jesus do several miracles, right? They had seen Jesus do several things, and then he said, "Teacher, we want to see you perform a miracle." So they were looking for a performance, a showmanship, and that is also happening a lot in churches these days, where you see people going to church because of that showmanship or that performance
the theater.
Yes, the theater of church. And some people will say, "Oh, if you don't have that theatrics in your church, they say, oh, the church is boring."
Yeah.
So you don't have that performance, like, being able to, I don't know how they do it, or I don't know how to describe, but you know what I'm talking about, right? That performance, that showmanship, that's not what Jesus is about. That's what he's about. He's about the word. He says, you ask for a miracle. The miracle you'll be given is Jonah. The people have never heard him preach. And they turn from their sins. So in the same day, in this our day and age, what we need is to turn away from our sins and listen to the word of God that we have heard, right? And some time ago I was just thinking about how, I'm not sure where it is in the Bible where it says that, like, something about Sodom and Gomorrah. Like if Sodom and Gomorrah had the chance that we had in our day.
Yeah. We actually, so when I was reading this, I recalled that verse. It was actually this Matthew. About 2 or 3 episodes ago, I was talking about like a woe to you, right? Chorazin and some other city, right? Like if the miracles that
That
was
in
performed,
he knew how to do
performing them, right? Jesus was like calling out those cities that did not believe in him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in this
It was
Matthew.
this Matthew.
Yeah. So it's
Right.
a similar tone Jesus is using here. Like, hey, you have way more than these other
Way
people,
more.
and they were able to do much more with the little they got, right?
With the God, yeah. And I was thinking about how, like, in this whole gay LGBTQ agenda, how they try to push it and make laws that actually push it, right? And Sodom and Gomorrah did not even do up to that point, and they got wiped away. Like, we are really living in the days of God's mercy. Not only are the things that people should be ashamed of, I think that they are proud of, and they're now pushing and forcing even into children's minds now. That's how far they're going, trying to influence children behind their parents' back. I know that's not the topic of this discussion, right? But it just tells you how much of God's mercy we are just enjoying right now. Much of God's mercy.
The other part too, right? With these people asking for signs, kind of brought that conversation we had in the last episode about like believing in God. How I mentioned like back in Nigeria, when you talk to somebody, there's this understanding that there's a God, right? So now talking about, okay, how can you be better at being a good person, right? Being a good Christian. Whereas here you have to start from like, is there even a God? So these people asking for signs is kind of similar to some of the conversations I've had with people that do not believe in God, right? They are like, oh,
what's the evidence?
What's the evidence, right? Oh, it's not scientifically proven, right? Oh, how can you? Whereas there's signs all over us, right? We're asking for signs, but the sign is just littered around. Like within you, there's so much sign. Alright, so I was thinking about it the other day and I stumbled on this video on the internet. It was a very apt way of explaining to people how you don't have to see something for it to be real, right? So there's this story about a twin baby in the womb. They were having a conversation and one of them was like, hey, bro, do you believe in murder? The other one was like, well, I think there is murder, there should be murder. And the first one was like, oh man, so you're one of those people that believe in murder. No, they can't be murder. Like if we have a murder, like where is she?
Can't see her.
We can see her.
We can hear her.
We can hear her, right? I say, well, I think that we actually live in her. And she's the reason we are alive and exist. And sometimes if you are quiet and you listen, you can hear her voice. And I was like, oh my God, what are you talking about? No. First one was like, I think there's more than like, and I think there's life after delivery. Say, you believe there's life after delivery? That's so ridiculous. What are we going to do? How are we going to move around? I said, maybe we can use our feet to walk. Like, you can walk with your feet? That's ridiculous. I said, oh, or maybe we can eat with our mouth. Say, eat with your mouth. We have umbilical cord. That's what is scientifically proven to give us all the nutrition we need. What are you talking about? This is nonsense. I'm like, no, it's possible we might be able to do all these things, but maybe it's different after delivery than what we know now. And I'm like, okay, if there's life after delivery, how come nobody has come back? You understand? So they were like, well, it's possible the life after delivery is different. Maybe there will be so much light than this darkness we see here. Maybe we can develop other senses, like our nose. This should be good for something, right? Or this, maybe we can use it, right? And we're having that conversation. And this story, I probably did not tell it very well. The way the guy told it was so perfect, like a very good analogy.
That's a very good analogy.
Of how like you don't have to see something for it to be real, right? Sometimes you need to be quiet and listen, right? And so this is specifically for people who don't believe that there is a God, right? That asks for more signs and show me this and show me that, right? There's one of my friends, we have a lot of like conversation. He majored in physics, right? So he's so knowledgeable about like astronomy and all this stuff. Like when we have conversation about life, right, and how like our existence here, people brag and carry their shoulder up and do all nonsense they do. But when you understand how fragile this world is, right, the sun is our sole source of energy. Right? Every energy we have here, one way or the other, directly or indirectly, comes from the sun. And we have zero say about the sun.
The sun shut down now.
Like,
That's the end.
we have zero. You can't go there to fix it. You can, before you get there, you're gone. You're toasted. Right? So there is so much evidence that there's definitely, this is not us. This is not just you. There's God's presence around, within and without. And sometimes we keep asking for more evidence, like these Pharisees. Jesus is there healing the sick, raising the dead, like healing all manner of things, touching a leper, something that was considered unclean, and making them clean, right? And people are here asking for more. So just putting it out there, like, we need to allow to come down from our high horse, because sometimes so there's some pride also in that mindset that, oh, I know all I need to know, or it has been proven scientifically, right? Nobody can tell me, right? There is more to it than what your eyes can see, and sometimes it takes a humility and God's grace to listen and open your eyes to really see, because sometimes you think you're seeing, but you're not seeing. Right? Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go on to read from verse 43.
Okay, I can read that one.
Okay.
So it says, the title here says, an unclean spirit returns. When an unclean spirit goes out of a man, he goes through dry places seeking rest and finds none. Then he says, I will return to my house from which I came. And when he comes, he finds it empty, swept and put in order. Then he goes and takes with him 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and they enter and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first. So shall it also be with this wicked generation.
Mercy.
This is a kind of a very wide swing, right, from the, because at this point I feel these people, they're giving Jesus too many stress. So you're just giving them like from different angles. So this is a case of somebody with an unclean spirit, right? We're told that the unclean spirit leaves the person and comes back and finds the place empty and clean. And it goes and brings 7 demons that are worse than itself, right? So it goes to show that there's always a place in our hearts for the spiritual, right? The spiritual part of ourselves. I think there's St. Augustine that said that our hearts will not find rest until it rests in God, right? There's always that space in our hearts that needs God, right? And when we leave it open, something got to occupy it.
Nature abhors vacuum.
Yeah, nature abhors vacuum, right? So this is a case where somebody that was delivered from an unclean spirit, that's good, right? You've been delivered, but you still leave that place open. The devil will take advantage of it, right? So you have to fill that void within you with godliness. It's not okay to say, oh, because that's what we see most time. People like, oh, I know that this is good, I know that that is bad, right? And I know how to do good and I know how to do bad, and that's all. There is this battle between good and evil, and you cannot just stand in the middle.
Yep. So the lady I listened to, like, Stephanie, I'm not sure if she's one who said this, but she said something like, the devil is an ancient spirit. The devil has been on the earth since Adam and Eve. So he knows the weaknesses of man. And the devil also does not stop trying to pull down man. Like, he's not like, you say, oh, I tried to get you today, I failed, that's the end, I'll go and I'll not come back. The devil doesn't, even, I don't know who you want to call him, the greatest bishop or the greatest pastor or whatever, the devil does not stop trying to find a way to bring them down, to bring them out of God's plan. So this analogy of the demon going and coming back, They are always doing that.
Mm.
They're always doing that. The Bible said that the devil is roaming
Roaring lion.
roaming like a
Looking
roaring
for
lion,
who
looking
to
for who to
devour.
devour. This
Yeah.
is also a similar thing. He doesn't go and stay in one spot and say, okay, well, I tried, and that's the end. They keep on trying, they keep on roaming. People where they will go. If it's where they've been before, oh, there's
Familiar ground.
familiar ground. They go and check. Is there now a space for us? Oh, no space. They go somewhere else. There's space for us. They keep on roaming. They say, oh, there's a space for us here now. Okay, come, we have found space. Let's stay here. Maybe those 7 spirits were cast out from somewhere else. They don't have anywhere else to land. Like, come on, I found this place, So it's a reminder to me, to you, to us, to guard our hearts and to ensure that we are consistent in our faith walk. We cannot blow hot today and blow cold tomorrow, because the devil is always looking for an opening to use to enter. And sometimes, like, there's certain things that a random person can just do and get away with. But for a child of God, a Christian who exposes themselves to such things, the devil may now use that as a window to enter and hold them and pin them down in that thing that they cannot even escape or break through from, compared to some other person who isn't a child of God. So it's a reminder to us of, like, if we are for Jesus, let's be for Jesus. Let's be hot. Let's stay consistent in our prayer life. Let's stay consistent in our worship, in our feeding on the word of God, because the devil is always looking, always looking where can I penetrate. And the thing is, he is patient. He has, since the time of Adam and Eve, he's still till today, till tomorrow, still looking for where he can penetrate, how he can turn man away from God. That's his goal. So
he's patient, he's cunning, he's bold. Like, imagine going to tempt Jesus.
Imagine,
right?
The effrontery.
He's bold. He goes. Yeah, so you can imagine if you can tempt Jesus, how much more you.
How much more. And even during that temptation of Jesus, the Bible says that he left him for a time.
We're not done here.
He keeps on.
Yeah, and it pains me so much, right? If you like listen to some of like all these big stars, maybe like a big pop star or somebody, you hear that, oh, this person has changed, he's now a Christian and he's singing Christian song. And before you know it, they will now like make a U-turn. They will now become even worse than they were before. I'm like, oh my God, what happened to this man or what happened to this woman? So like that thought just crossed my mind now, like, oh man, we just have to realize that this is it's a daily battle.
It's a battle.
Yeah, and you cannot just fold your hands and just say, okay, well, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right, because the devil is very patient.
And as long as we're in this flesh, there's no resting. There's no point where you can say, oh, I've arrived in my Christian walk. There's no, in fact, when you start to think that you've arrived, that's already a sign that you're already fallen. There's no arriving. There's no, oh, I've known it all, or I've known all there is to know about God, or, I've come to the height of my Christian faith. Until we are like Jesus, we cannot say that we have become the fullness of who God has called us to be. Until we are like Jesus, until we are able to do what Jesus did and walk on the earth like he did, walk in the love, he walk in the power, and he walked until we are there. Which, as long as we are in this flesh, I don't think we can ever get there, but we have to keep on striving to become like him. And how do we become like him? It's not even by just wishing it, it's not by just desiring it. We have to also be intentional about what we're doing to become more like him. He says in the Bible that the more we behold his image, the more we are transformed to that image. The more we behold God in his word, the more we are transformed to become more like God in his love, in his power. The more we spend time in prayer and worship, the more we are becoming more and more like him, and the fleshly nature in us is, being killed and being suppressed. And it's also interesting that whatever you give, whatever you feed the most, that's what you tend to have appetite for.
Yeah.
If you feed your flesh the most, you have appetite for the things of the flesh, and the things of the spirit now be like you are dragging your feet. And this happens to all of us. So it's not like it happens to me. I'm not trying to like judge anybody. And you're like always feeding your flesh and doing what feels good. When it's time to now engage in things of the spirit, Bible study, prayer is like, Just like,
It was like
let me just be done with this
those are the
thing.
kids if they be watching like cartoon all evening. I say, oh, let's pray. Like,
And then they are so sleepy and they can't talk
suddenly,
anymore.
suddenly they just,
God help us. God help us.
oh man.
Just mercy for him to speak for us. This battle.
Yeah, well, it just they say iron sharpened iron, right? We just need to keep reminding each other and keep putting it in front of us because it's easy to get carried away and
It is.
distracted with like all the noise that is going on around you.
It is. It's also easy to say, I have so much responsibilities. I have so many things that are consuming my time. Which is also another
Mm-hmm.
devilish strategy to keep us too
Keep you
busy.
busy,
Like you always
like
like,
a
I have
soldier
something to do.
ant.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have this. What is
Yeah.
very important? He said he gave his beloved food while they sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So all those things we are chasing, all this rat race. Who is
To
our
what end?
provider?
Yeah.
It's still the same God that provides for us. All right, so I'll go on to read from Matthew 12, verse 46. Jesus was still talking to the people when his mother and brothers arrived. They stood outside, asking to speak with him. So one of the people there said to him, Look, your mother and brothers are standing outside, and they want to speak with you. Jesus answered, Who is my mother? Who are my brothers? Then he pointed to his disciples and said, Look, here are my mother and my brothers. Whoever does what my Father in heaven wants is my brother, my sister, and my mother.
Oh.
And this version is very well. I feel like I have to feel somehow for Mary. Like, who is my mother?
well, that's the first impression you get from it until you read between the lines and you understand that this is actually an endorsement of Mary, right? Because it says, well, who is my mother? Saying, whoever does the will of my Father in heaven, right? So, in a sense, Mary is twice his mother in that regard, because Mary is the mother just by giving birth to Jesus, right? But in terms of doing the will of God, Mary is up there, right?
Be it done to me according
Be
to
it
your
done
word.
to me according to your words, right? Like that was how the whole thing started. Not arguing or whatever, agreeing to God's will on the spot. Not like, let me think about it, right? So it's, yeah, when you look at it at the surface, like, oh man, this guy just talked about the mom that way, right? But the conversation is for those people around them, right? So Jesus has spent all this time talking to them, and they're trying to say, oh, your brother. He was trying to pass a message to them that there's an opportunity for you too to be my mother, my brother, my sister, right? Don't get so worked up about my mother and my brother waiting for me. I'm discussing with you now. I'm telling you something very important. And there is an opening for you also to be my brothers and sisters by doing the will of God, which is all this thing I'm telling you all this while, right? So let's not deviate this conversation. Yes, I will see them later or whatever. But you have to understand the grounds for you, and that's the opening we all have, right? Today, for us to claim to be Jesus, the brothers and sisters, right, of Jesus, which is an awesome privilege. But it's anchored on that your ability to listen, obey, and do the will of God, right? So yeah, it's not a disrespect. It's just like even at the foot of the cross, right? You notice he never most times he refers to Mary as woman, right? And people are like, oh, why is not saying mom and mother and all this stuff? And he says, oh, woman, behold thy son, son, behold thy mother, right? So it could sound disrespectful on the surface, but when Jesus addresses Mary as woman, he's speaking in the terms of Genesis, because Mary is that woman that God says, I will put an enmity between you and the woman, right? She will crush your head and you will bite her heel. So he's calling that authority that Mary carries as the woman that crushes the head of the serpent. So on the surface, it looks like a mean thing to say, but when you really read in between the lines, it's more of an elevation of who she are. Oh, who she are. Of who she is, right? In the grand scheme of things. And Jesus is calling that, because again, Jesus being both God and man, right? He speaks as a man and he also speaks as a God, right? And that proclamation in Genesis was made by God. So the God person in Jesus is making those declarations about who Mary is in the grand scheme of things, right? So it's not a disrespect. It's, if anything, it's like an elevation of
she's into doing
yeah,
what
yeah,
God the Father wants.
yeah.
That's what makes her to be the mother.
Yeah.
Thank you for that explanation, because
Yeah.
like all my Bible days, this is one portion of that I never really landed me also. Thank
Yeah,
you
it's
for
like
making it land.
just dish the more, like
Yeah, like it's
dish the
so
more.
I'm glad we're having this discussion, because that's
Yeah.
also one good thing about having Bible study, because we get to share, our understanding and help each other. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, I think this will be a good place to call it a wrap for this episode.
Absolutely.
It's been an awesome time spending this session studying the Bible with you. Please let us know what you think in the comment section. We'd love to hear your unique opinions, questions, suggestions. We welcome them all. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe. We'll
Please,
see.
please like. Don't walk up pass. Please like and subscribe.
All right, till we come back next time. Take care.
All right.
Looking unto Jesus.